Hey Gengar gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, happy Tuesday, first things first, we discuss that special thing that happened over the weekend that everyone seems to be talking about. More importantly, in today's video, we're going to talk about the PWCC auction that ended over this past weekend, March 28th, 2021, and specifically the first edition Base Set Charizard that you see on screen right now that sold for the both equally whopping and yet at the same time underwhelming $311,000 US. Now, a lot of people are talking about this auction for a variety of reasons. The first reason why this is an auction that has caught everyone's eye is because it signals a decrease in the trend for the first edition Base Set Charizard, and a lot of people have then taken that to mean that either quote-unquote the bubble is bursting or the market is trending downwards. And so in today's video, I'm here to tell you that I don't know if either of those two things are true. But what I am here to try to explain, and perhaps even try to guesstimate, is more specifically why this card sold for so much less than the exact same card that sold before it. More importantly, why in the course of a month we've seen this card decrease about 20%. And so in today's video, as you know on this channel, I really do try to bring you all some different perspectives on content. I try not to reiterate the same thing and tell you that, you know, the market is crashing and everything's burning and sell and run and flee. Instead, we're going to take a real minute to stop and look and consider all the different factors that might have played a role in the decline in this card's price, and how we can potentially even use those same exact factors to estimate potential upticks in the market later on this year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started by first looking at PSA's auction prices. So of course, for the first edition base set holographic, you know, the Charizard card, the last one that sold as a 10 was on 3/7/2021, and it sold for a not surprising $399,750. The cert number was 155078883, so, you know, 15 was the cert number, and then, you know, unsurprisingly, this one was a 14. So really, realistically, they're from right about the same generation, and they were separated by approximately 21 days, and yet for some reason, if you type in those two numbers, and you try to calculate the delta between them, meaning we're just trying to see how much of a decrease there has been. Obviously, this is the mathematical formula that you would use, and I use calculator soup all the time, by the way. It's great stuff. But yeah, there was a 22% decrease in price over the past 3 weeks, and there's really, you know, a couple of different things that may have caused that. So again, as I've mentioned repeatedly now, there's obviously, you know, a big decline that we've seen, and a lot of people are now using this to kind of say, oh my goodness, a 22% decrease, or, you know, approximately $87,950 in price differential in 3 weeks. The market's clearly crashing. Well, again, hold up. Let's see and talk a little bit about that. So, as you can see, there are a variety of factors that might be at play, and of course that bears true with anything else in life. PSA's website currently has the SMR price of this card at about $325,000, the average price being about $350, and PSA's website as of the morning that I'm recording this video, by the way, this is one of the first times I'm recording the video the morning it will be released, so this video is being recorded as of March 30th, 2021, and PSA still hasn't updated to include the most recent sale price of the PWCC card. But what I will say is that overall, we're sort of seeing this, you know, really interesting sort of stagnation in the market. Now, going on and finally moving into the meat and potatoes of this video, let's talk a little bit about some of the factors that I think may have influenced the sale price of the most recent auction at about $11,000. So first things first, let's go ahead and talk about widespread availability or frequency. Frequency is basically me saying, hey, a lot of these cards are being sold. Now, here's the thing. Over the past year, we've seen a voluminous increase in the amount of Pokemon cards up for sale. Here's an article from December 2nd of 2020 that was hyping up another auction that, said, hey, this thing might sell for $500,000. And of course, it was a first edition base set Charizard, PSA 10, and oh my god, it's so amazing and it's so cool and this and that. And they were really trying to hype it up and say like, oh, it's currently at 170, it could easily double, it could do this, it could do that. Tons of reasons why this card could break $500,000. Plot twist, it didn't. But there was obviously a lot of hype around it. And it wouldn't surprise you to know that obviously another Pokemon card just sold the other day. Oh, and guess what? One sold in October. So, yeah. Long story short, over the past year, we've seen a lot of these cards sell. And so there comes a point where the rarity of the card will play a role in how much people are willing to bid. Think about the EX Deoxys box that sold a couple of weeks back. The last time we had seen one was in August of 2019, and so there's a reason why it's seen as a special event, mainly because it's so frequently up for sale. But when you have a Charizard first edition PSA 10 up for sale every 2 months, think about it, October, November, December, I think nothing in January and nothing in February, but then 2 in March, it basically becomes kind of like another random thing that's up for sale. And so the frequency with which the card is being sold may have been part of the reason why the price decreased a little bit. Because again, if there's so many available on the market, you can pick amongst the various, suppliers. And again, when supply is plentiful and demand really isn't there, typically suppliers will have to lower their price in order to sell more of their stuff. That's basic economics, but it still applies to goods like Pokemon cards. If there's so many out there in the market, and to the uneducated buyer who's not trying to buy between a number 5 cert and a number 1 cert, it actually makes a lot of sense to just go with the lowest seller, the person who is asking the least amount of money. And that may have, at least in part, been part of the reason why this particular trading card didn't sell for as much as its contemporaries did. Because again, every single time another one of these cards sells, it was breaking a new high. But now, all of a sudden, with so many of them popping up, and literally one popping up 3 weeks after the other one, the frequency with which these cards are being sold may have had an impact, and people might just honestly be getting tired of seeing this card up for auction and up for sale. Speaking of getting tired, let's talk about the 25th anniversary, which is actually my second point. The second point being Pokemon overload. Put it this way, for quite about a year now, we've been all over Pokemon in probably the best way possible. Realistically, when I think about it, it's almost been a year and a half, because this really started with Hidden Fates. When you look back and think about Hidden Fates, you really have to think about how you couldn't even find any of that stuff on store shelves. And mind you, that was fall 2019. There was still plenty of stuff. There was still no supply issues. COVID-19 wasn't even a thing yet. And it's just crazy to think that even up till then, people were hyping up Pokemon cards like crazy. Moving into 2020, we had the supply issues and of course a global health pandemic to worry about. And then on the back end of that, we also then had, the 2020 sets. So we had Champion's Path, we had Darkness Ablaze, we had Vivid Voltage, and then rolling into 2021, we were hyped up over the 25th anniversary. Logan Paul had just broken a box, etc., etc. Put it this way, we've had a lot of stuff happen to this hobby in the past year, and the overload of it all might be part of the reason why that Charizard didn't necessarily sell for as much as it could have. As you can see, Pokemon's doing a lot to kind of promote. You've got the Pokemon cards, coming out in cereal. You had you had the good and the bad out of the McDonald's player packs. You have Battle Styles. You had the Diamond and Pearl remakes. You're gonna have all the different other promo stuff. I'm sure there's gonna be a 25th anniversary set. There's a lot of stuff going on in Pokemon right now. And here's the truth of the matter. For a lot of people, it's great. For a lot of people, it's fun. But at the same time, we equally have to keep in mind the fact that there's a lot to manage and there's a lot going on right now. And although the brand is very valuable and investors may see a Pokemon card like this one as a golden opportunity to invest in that very valuable brand, the truth of the matter is, again, if so many of these are being sold, and then on top of that you have the sheer fact of the matter that there's just so much going on in the hobby, it may be a little distracting, right? Another way of thinking about this is, okay, if Pokemon is really that amazing, fun, popular, crazy, woohoo 25th anniversary, there's a lot of other things you could be buying right now. I know a lot of people who have gotten out of vintage specifically with the intent of going into modern. And this is a lot of money to invest in modern. And in my opinion, there's a potential that if you buy the right combination of stuff, you could double your money in a couple of years. Versus this, which may see a little bit more of a slow grow over the next couple of years. It depends on, obviously a variety of factors. And so the 25th anniversary may have sort of had a inverse effect on the value of this card. Because as the year goes on, more and more people become aware that there are other types of opportunities to invest in Pokemon cards that aren't this critical investment piece. As PWCC would put it, there are tons of other critical investment pieces out there for you, and the 25th anniversary is only helping to further exaggerate that. And the overload that we've seen over the past year is only helping to exacerbate that as well. We're seeing and we're hearing and we're democratizing so much more information that it's becoming relatively apparent that this isn't the only way to be a Pokemon card collector, which is actually a good thing and something that I've advocated in the past. There are tons of other cards and sets out there, and this price and this delta may be a direct result of people realizing that that $80,000 could be spent elsewhere. And think of that what you will. Finally but not least, and perhaps most controversially of all, is going to be the negativity surrounding the Pokemon hobby right now. Now, I will say this, as always, I try to keep my opinions to myself or very clearly disclaim them when they are coming out, but I did want to speak a little bit about, certain videos that have come out in the hobby recently, particularly the one released by Caribou. And obviously there are tons of reaction videos out there. There is the original video, which you should definitely go watch if you haven't already, and I definitely recommend showing love and positivity to all the people as you go across their channels, their videos, their reactions. My 10-second reaction, because I actually haven't provided one as of yet, is that I thought the video was good. It's a 50-minute video, so be prepared to get some popcorn and watch. Boo is very good at explaining some of the very basic points and frustrations that many people are having right now. I think there are some points that she could have stressed more. I think there are some points that she was a little bit off on. So obviously I don't think she's 100% right. I don't think she's 100% wrong. There's definitely a spectrum, and I think a lot of people fell somewhere within that spectrum. Now, regardless of my opinion or anyone else's opinion on the video, and without turning this into an opinion video, I will say this. This thumbnail, and this is exactly why I picked this Reddit post as opposed to the YouTube video itself, this thumbnail says everything you need to say about the Pokemon hobby right now. There's a lot of money, and there's a sad Pikachu. And wherever there's a sad Pikachu, there's a major underlying issue that needs to be addressed. Let's put that a little differently. Currently, right now, I think a good way of distilling that video, as well as the way a lot of people feel, is that we derive, or rather, the hobby derives a lot of enjoyment from value, as opposed to deriving value from enjoyment. So what does that mean? Well, to derive value from enjoyment means, we're not here trying to make money off cards. We're really here enjoying the hobby, the cards, the Pokemon, the species, the attacks, the compatibility, the trading card game, the meta game, etc., etc. And the cost or the value of these cards is secondary in nature to that. But the way that many people are currently going about it is that, the only reason we enjoy it, or the only reason we're here, is because of the money that we're involved. And I think this thumbnail says a lot about that. Now, this video, surprisingly, isn't about this thumbnail, but it's about the message that this thumbnail sends. This, whether you agree with it or not, is negative coverage of the Pokemon trading card game right now. It's speaking about how dire straits we're in, and obviously if you go down this Reddit thread, you'll see a lot more of that kind of stuff, and I'm not even going to try to hover over some of that stuff, because some of that stuff is calling out particular content creators and stuff like that. But those are those individuals' opinions. Obviously none of this is my opinion, but obviously people have had a lot of different reactions to this video. And again, it is probably a good thing to go and check these videos out, because it's good to stay in tune with what's going on in the hobby. Now, here's my theory, and here's why I bring this video up as negative press coverage. For those who aren't in the know, back in, I believe, 2015, Chipotle, Mexican grill here in the United States, had something called a E. coli breakout. So here's a really good chart, and by the way, this is marketwatch.com. You can Google, and I'll try to leave a link to it down below, since I will spend some time speaking on this particular topic. But Chipotle basically went through this period of rapid stock price decline, and it was because of E. coli breakouts. So effectively, E. coli received several reports of Chipotle received several reports of E. coli in their lettuce, and as a result of that, they ended up in a situation where this became national news attention, and Chipotle is a very popular brand here in the United States for any viewers that might be outside of it. But long story short, they got hit with some really bad news coverage. People were so afraid to go to Chipotle, people were swearing they would never go again, because the lettuce is basically in everything that you eat there. So ironically enough, over the course of, September and October, we had like this, really kind of normal stock movement, more or less. And then all of a sudden, Chipotle gets news and wind and, news coverage over these E. coli outbreaks, and the price starts plummeting, right? Halfway through October, they're like more than 50% down, at least based on the axis of this graph. And then again, by like November, the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control here in the United States, reports 6 different states worth of Chipotle E. coli cases, and their stock is like down $200 in about 3 months or so. So this is, put simply, negative news coverage causing a rapid decline in the value of a stock. Does that sound similar to anyone? Negative news coverage provides about a 20% decrease in the stock of a company. Interesting. Now it's a tough analogy to sell in some capacities. Obviously, this is a Pokemon card and not a stock. But let's be real here. This is the blue chip of Pokemon. This is the thing, as PWCC would say it. It is the critical investment piece. This is a good indicator for the health of the hobby. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with the price or not, tough. This is a good indicator of the health of the hobby. So when this is doing well, the hobby is doing well. And this, whether or not you agree with it, was negative news coverage. So it's unsurprising to me, at least, that a rapid, set of negative news coverage has caused a similar decline in our hobby as well. Now, with all that said, where does it leave us for the next couple of months? Well, I think the story of Chipotle is actually where we need to look in order to get a good understanding of what happens next. So obviously, Chipotle recovered. Chipotle is back better than ever. They, for one reason or the other, fixed their E. coli issues, fixed their lettuce supply issues, and, they're back at it good to go. Boo, in her video, points out several different things that I think we need to address as a hobby collectively, right? So whether it be as content creators, as individuals, as scalpers, whatever the case may be, that we need to fix. And so I think that this is a temporary thing. I'm not going to get on this video right now and tell you that it's the end of the world. And honestly, $87,000 is a lot of money. 22% decrease in value in 3 weeks is a lot of money. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I personally think, and I might be very wrong here, so If I am, please feel free to come back later and make fun of me in the comments, because it's good for the algorithm anyway, so thanks, I appreciate your comment. But seriously, I do think that we can see this recover. I think this was an outlier, and this isn't a sign of the market bursting. As I stated in this video, which I hope is a little different than other videos you might be seeing or watching or listening to, the real difference here is that there's a lot of factors we can point to that could have potentially influenced this particular sale. I'm not saying any of these factors were purposefully done or purposefully coordinated to help influence the decline in price, but I am saying that, you know, by pure coincidence, it has influenced the price. And so I do think it bears watching from here on out. The way I think about it, it's kind of like the Pokemon hobby has a fever right now. We've been running for a year straight, you know, non-stop price increases, scalping, just a hot mess all the way around. And so I think we're at a critical juncture. We can take a moment to baby our fever, you know, spend the day in bed, lounge around the house, work from home, do whatever we can to make sure we don't get sick. Or we can pretend everything's hunky-dory, try to go outside, and tomorrow, when we're even more sick than we were today, well, you know, whose fault is that going to be? I think that's where we're at right now. You know, we really do have to baby this fever. And I think that's purely in argument of higher prices, right? I'm not saying every card has to be higher prices. To be clear, I'm certainly not saying scalpers need to continue to sell cards. I think they need to literally go elsewhere. But a card like this obviously deserves to carry a premium, especially as Gem Mint 10, especially such a beautiful specimen. And so, you know, people who are upset about the price of these cards and people who are upset about the price of modern day cards, we need to separate the two arguments. But either way, I think it's good for the hobby that certain cards carry a premium, and I certainly think it is good for the hobby that, you know, there are some cards out there that are always going to be seen as like indicators of the health of the hobby. So I think we really do need to baby it. Again, much like Chipotle, we do have a future ahead of us, and we do need to focus on that. Here's the other thing. Today is March 30th, and guess what? We're only a quarter of the way through the year. And Pokemon has a lot of stuff planned. May I just remind everyone, there's an entire website dedicated to this, and we're not even seeing everything. We're only seeing what we know, right? We still have Shining Fates. We have Chilling Reign coming out, which looks to be one of the most amazing sets that everyone is so hyped about, and it doesn't even have a Charizard in it. It just has a bunch of alternate arts. So just get excited about that. We have a whole bunch of music coming out. We have a whole bunch of additional sets coming out. There's going to be a 25th anniversary set. I don't know what it's going to be. Probably EV Heroes. And guess what? It's probably going to be hype too. And don't forget, on top of everything else, you have a whole bunch of YouTubers who are willing to drop, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in order to get some really high quality premium content out there. So frankly, if you ask me, I think the best way of babying this fever is frankly going to be chilling out for a little bit. We've been going for a long time. Take a deep breath. Everyone chill out. Again, focus on what you love. Don't derive enjoyment from value. Derive value from enjoyment. And when you do that, what I think is going to happen is there's going to be a general decline in prices, which is fine. It's not a bubble bursting. It's called a cycle, and it happens every once in a while. There might be some retraces like we saw with Charizard. There might be some new record set as people realize there are other things you can invest in. And you know what? At a certain point, I bet within the next 6 months, some people are gonna, you know, miss all of the hype and all of the excitement that's gone on over the next year. And I think that might drive prices up as well. But yeah, friends, that's where I'm going to leave you all today. Obviously, lots of different factors can influence a card, and lots of different things have an impact on the hobby, as well as the current financial health and overall health of the hobby. But I do think this is one of those topics. It bears watching, it bears learning about, and there's a lot of different things that can play into it. So I hope today's video has left you with a better understanding of some of the causes or potential causes of the price decrease. I do hope that today's video finds you all well and that you're having an amazing day. If there are any questions, or if you want to share something with me that I might not have considered in today's video, please feel free to do that down below in the comments. And other than that, I hope you all are having an amazing day. If you're not already, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I believe we might hit 900 soon, fingers crossed, so that'll be fun. And other than that, friends, thanks again for checking out another video, and we'll talk soon. Peace.